Hey guys, welcome back. Today I am, for Mother's Day, I am doing a special portrait. This is actually for my mom. I've been meaning to make it for her for a while. I made a different version for her a long time ago, like 15 years ago, maybe, I don't even, maybe longer than that, of my sister, my brother, and I, way before we were married or had families or anything. So it was just us siblings. And my dad mentioned a while ago that he wanted another updated version of that portrait. So I figured, if not for Mother's Day, then when? So today is the day. Actually, Mother's Day's tomorrow, so I have one day to finish this. I've been working on some other things, so I got sidetracked and kind of this sort of fell to the wayside. But today I'm going to try and finish this today. So I'm actually working on a colored paper. So this is like a kind of a light slate gray-ish blue color paper. It's Strathmore pastel paper. And this isn't actually the size of it. This one is 18 by 24 pad, but I cut a piece off of this. So I actually cut the paper in a different size to fit a frame that I got for it. So sometimes, helpful hint, it's easier to buy the frame first, especially if you can find one with a mat already cut in it, and that will save you so much money on custom framing later on, especially if you're using a material like soft pastels, which are very dusty and they smear very easily. So you have to frame them before you can do anything. I mean, if you touch them, they can get ruined. So I always, I've learned over time to try to look for a frame first. Otherwise, getting even just a mat cut for a specific size of a picture can be pretty expensive. And then, having to deal with custom framing, if you don't even have a standard size frame, it's, can get really astronomically expensive. So I recommend doing it this way. So this one is like the grayish blue color that was in that pad, and I just cut it to size. I measured it out with a sort of border around it, and then I sketched out my drawing. So I transferred the drawing onto this paper instead of sketching it here, so I didn't have to have a lot of eraser marks or anything like that. And then I'm gonna actually try something a little bit different today. Normally when I do portraits, my go-to medium is always soft pastels, like chalk pastels. And I like to start my layer with pan pastels. Now these pan pastels are amazing. I just discovered these, maybe 2 years ago. They're an investment. I'm not going to lie. They're not cheap. They're pretty expensive, but I got these for Christmas for my parents. So, they knew I wanted these, and these have been so amazing. These are like the best thing ever for doing chalk pastel drawings. And actually today I'm going to use them to do a mixed media sort of thing. I'm going to try using these pan pastels with my Prismacolor pencils, and maybe even in some areas these illustration markers, which as you can see were $5. These are not expensive markers, but they work really well. I got these from Five Below. So it's just a 18 color set. It's nothing fancy, but I know you can get other versions of these for pretty affordably priced, like on Amazon or pretty much anywhere now. They're very popular. They're like the alcohol markers. I think they're supposed to be a knockoff of Copic markers, which I will never have because I do not want to spend the money on them, and I don't use markers that often. But as an underneath layer, sometimes it helps to build the richness of the color, especially with colored pencils and using a textured paper. The texture of the paper will show through underneath, but the beauty of these pan pastels is they have the texture of a pastel without having to use the actual chalk of the pastel. So you're kind of painting with these, which is what I love so much. So they come in these little canisters, and I'll show you. It looks like this when you buy it. It's a little canister. This one actually broke, so you can see it's kind of like powdery, and it's not supposed to be like that, but the rest of them that I have are okay. This one's still in the tin, but it has like the information on the back. This one's called raw umber tint. But anyway, I bought this separate palette to hold them because it's much more convenient to have them all open and in an open palette as you're using them, like a paint set. And then it has a lid, so you can just put it on instead of having to individually open each container, which is, kind of a pain in the butt every time you want to open these. So I have them in there. And then there are tools that they give you with them that look kind of like this. It's like almost like a palette knife. And then it has, it has these little spongy things that attach to it. So it's almost like a makeup sponge. It's really cool. But you use these to sort of smear the pastels on. And I've actually been experimenting with this a lot. You can also use just household items like Q-tips. I use a lot. And then I actually really love using paintbrushes, but these are actually makeup brushes, which I have a lot of because I subscribed to the Ipsy glam bag for a while and I always got tons of makeup brushes. So I have a lot of extras, and obviously I'm not going to use these for makeup after this, but some of these are perfect because they're so soft and they're the right shape and they're good for painting on powders like eyeshadow. So these are really perfect because it's almost the same texture as like a very, very pigmented eyeshadow. You know, these pan pastels are like a powder, like compressed into a little tin. So, so yeah, I mean, I just kind of like dab into it and then I brush it on the paper. And that's kind of how it works. It's kind of like paint. Like I said, it's like a painting. So you can layer them on top of each other. You can blend them together. The only thing is it's really difficult to get a sharp edge with these. And so I'm going to end up going in later probably with my color pencils. So usually I'll use like a pastel pencil on top of this, but I've noticed even with pastel pencils, they don't quite get a sharp edge. And for those really fine details, things like in between the teeth, where sometimes that detail is what really makes or breaks the end result. You know, the teeth shape are a very personal thing for a person's smile, especially if it's somebody who smiles a lot. Like I tend to be somebody who smiles a lot, so the shape of my teeth are important. If my teeth shape don't come out properly, then it's not going to look like me. And the same for the eyes, and the eyes have a lot of detail in them. So sometimes using like a sharper tool will be much more, will help you capture a person's likeness much more easily if you're doing portraiture. So I like to just sort of do all the shadows, the lighting, the values, get down the base colors, and try to do that with the pan pastels. And then later on, go in with a little bit more detail. You can use the chalk pastels. I have multiple sets of chalk pastels. My favorite ones are the Sennelier portrait set that I also got for Christmas a couple years ago from my sister. And they're also pretty expensive. They're very, you know, they're a good investment. You know, they work really well, but they are expensive. But you know, like using those kinds of things, and they blend really well too. But again, it's very difficult to get a sharp point on a pastel. So I'm going to try to use my Prismacolors today on top as my final layer. And I did a test page just to test, you know, how well they show up on top of the pan pastels. And it seems to work really well. Actually, I watch a couple of people on YouTube who actually do that with most of their drawings, where they layer pan pastels underneath color pencils, so I know it works well. I just didn't know if the kind of paper I had was going to be the best for that. So I guess we'll see. Anyway, I am going to stop talking now, and we'll just go ahead and get started, and hopefully I can record most of this and turn it into a nice time lapse for you all. And I hope it turns out, you know, I hope it turns out, let's just say that. I hope it turns out well enough for me to gift to my mother and be proud if she hangs it in her house. Okay. So, as you'll see here, I started off with the pan pastels, just doing a very light skin tone on my sister's face, and I decided to sort of work left to right because I am right-handed. I didn't want to smear my drawing with my hand as I was drawing. So I decided to just work left to right, and I sort of finished the entire drawing of my sister's face before I moved on to my brother, just so I wouldn't have that issue. I originally just was going to do pan pastels underneath, and then as I started doing the hair, I realized it just wasn't going to get dark enough. So I went in with those markers in the hopes that that would be, you know, what I needed to do, and it was a great decision. Like, I really love the way that those markers turned out as a base layer for those dark values. And I'm definitely going to do that again. Next time, I'm probably just going to end up using a different paper because I really didn't enjoy the texture of this paper underneath my color pencils. It's great for pastels. You know, the pastels need that texture to grab onto to keep the pastels from, you know, blowing away or smearing too much or whatever it is, but not so great for the color pencils. It shows through so much. much, and it's hard to get a smooth transition with colored pencils on such a textured paper. It's probably good for some effects. As you'll see, like towards the end, it's really cool on my lace dress that I did. It made it like a mesh kind of texture, which was perfect, but that was really the only thing. I apologize again also for the angle of this video. I know it's not a great angle, and I know that my lighting's not great. My setup that day was kind of a, rush. I just wanted to make sure I recorded it and had that video footage done, which you can see I even lost some of it, some of my brother's face as I was drawing. I don't know, my camera just turned off at some point and I didn't realize it, so I lost some of that footage, but you guys get the gist of it. You can see exactly what's going on here. So yeah, I filled in my brother's hair and beard and mustache and his shirt with the markers. Mostly I just used the pan pastels as the skin tone layers, just because the markers, I didn't, I was afraid I wasn't gonna have enough of a variation of color, and it was gonna be too dark or something. So it was making me a little bit nervous for that. I did actually use it on my glasses too, and on my dress, but I was so nervous doing my glasses. Oh my gosh, because my glasses are such a geometric shape, and if I had gotten outside the lines at all, it would have totally messed up the entire drawing, and I was already at the end at this point, so I was like really nervous about it. But it ended up working out fine. I just kind of went really slowly and made sure I didn't, make any messes. Same with my lips. I did it with my lips too, just because I was wearing lipstick in the image that I chose, and I wanted to make sure that it was like the drawing was like filled in correctly. So that's how I did that. And then you can kind of see how here when I like towards the end, I wish I would have moved the camera up a little bit so you could see, but you can see sort of how I did that layer with the pencil over the floral print, and it sort of made it look like mesh a little bit. And then I did go in with all the details, with my black Prismacolor around the eyes, and the pencils and the white pencil. And then I went in at the end also with a white gel pen, just to get some of those really bright white highlights, because like I said, the paper that I was using was like a light bluish gray color. It wasn't white, so it wasn't like I had any pure whites in there. I did have to use my white pencil and a white gel pen to get those layers. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Here's the finished portrait. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below if there's anything else that you want me to see, that you want to see me do or post videos about. And I will see you guys